Hi, good evening to everyone. My name is Hillary. I am the Adult Services Librarian at the Morrow Memorial Library. I am very pleased to be here tonight with co-sponsors Together Yes, Progress Norwood, and Norwood Community Media. And I'm going to go ahead and let Katie talk about our partners.
Great, thank you so much. And on behalf of Susan Clare, who isn't with us tonight, but with us in spirit, I want to thank Together Yes for founding the Sustainability Series, and as well as I'm representing Progress Norwood. We are happy to be co-presenting or co-sponsoring this series this year with the library as well, and thank the Trails Committee, Joe and Lee, for being here tonight to give us an update. As they have in the past, we're really excited to hear what's going on, what progress has been made, what's available to us in terms of our great outdoor space. I do just have a couple of housekeeping notes. One is to let you know that Progress Norwood does have a green team. We have a political action team, and we have a cultural competency team as well. But if you want to know more about any of those, you can find us on Facebook, or you can look us up at progressnorwood.com. The next event in this series will be on February 10th. The next talk that we'll be having will be at 7 p.m. again on a Thursday. February 10th the Conservation Commission will be presenting on storm water management. There are going to be some local laws that town meeting is going to need to vote on in March. So it's important that we all get educated on that as much as we can. There are implications for our waterways, obviously. And so Holly Jones from the Conservation Commission, along with Terry Snyder, who is with the Neponset River Valley organization, are going to be presenting to us then for some important information. So I've talked too much. Sorry about the rambling. Thank you guys for being here. And to the NCM, the viewing audience as well. We hope you get some great information out of this. Thanks a lot.
Great. Thanks, Kate. Thank you to Together Yes and to Progress Norwood for hosting. Obviously, thank you also to the Morrow Memorial Library staff. Hillary's with us, but several people contributed to this effort. We do appreciate it. And as Kate said, Susan Clare is here in spirit, and she's texted me several times today. Among other things, she said break a leg. So we are about to preferably not break a leg, but we'll come as close as possible to that. I am going to, we welcome everybody for joining. I know it's a Thursday night. Everyone's calendar is booked solid for weeks, and we do appreciate everybody taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. We appreciate the chance to present. This is our, we were trying to do some math, and we think this is our third annual presentation, which we not only appreciate the invitation, but we're just happy that there's as much interest in the effort and collaboration and feedback, and the input from the community. Not only do we thrive on it, and we look forward to every one of the comments, but that's also what helps us guide our futures. So we do appreciate it. We appreciate people putting up with Zoom and doing other things that are like that. So things that we never knew 2 years ago. Just bear with me. I'm gonna try to do a little, let your fingers do the walking here and see what we can do. I'm gonna ask someone, Hillary, do you mind, give me, can you all see that?
Joe, I can see it, yes.
Okay, great. I'm gonna see if I can get rid of this little banner here at the top. There you go. All right. So we appreciate it. This is, we did one of these in June, about 8 months ago. And at the bottom of this page, and I forgot to mention, but Norwood Community Media will add this to the libraries, to not only to the NCM library, but also associated with the Morrill, so that for generations to come, people can dial in. But most importantly on this first screen, we do welcome people's input. At the bottom of the screen, there's an email address where trails@norwoodma.gov. Feedback, suggestions, invitations. We did have somebody this week say, how do I join the committee, which is great. Even if you can come, one event a year. That we just had our New Year's Day hike, and that was well attended. And even if that's the only thing people can get to all year long, they've still managed to get out of the house and share their time with us. So we definitely appreciate that. We have Lee has graciously offered to kick me under the table and just keep things moving. When I came to the Conservation Commission several years ago with this idea, Lee was the first person to basically throw me a lifeline across the table and say, hey, that's a great idea. Let's run with it. So I appreciate Lee.
So Joe, I think that was about 4 years ago, coming up here in perhaps February timeframe.
That's right. That's right.
So,
We're almost celebrating an anniversary. Yes. So we'll try to keep this brief. As Hillary said, we're going to try to end this part of the discussion at or around 7:45, and hopefully leave time for questions, suggestions, and feedback for you all. Basically, okay,
oh, that's
good.
good.
So who we are? Do you want to jump in? And
So we are a committee that was formed under the auspices of the Norwood Town General Manager's Office. Originally, Joe came to the Conservation Commission, and it became clear very early on in that process that trails are not bounded just by conservation properties. So the committee branched out to the general manager, and he agreed to bring us on in that capacity as an advisory committee. So we do have a limited town budget that we can use for certain items like producing maps and other materials, perhaps some limited, very limited kinds of trail improvements if they are that they need to have some expense associated with them. So we are actually structured under the planning and conservation area in Town Hall. We report directly to Paul Halkiotis, and we work quite closely with the conservation agent, Polly Jones. We see her quite a bit every month. So like I said, we started nearly 4 years ago, and the committee membership has been pretty constant, right around that 8 to 10 active members. Usually somebody who wants to go out, there'll be a new person that'll come on. So we've been very fortunate to have a fairly strong commitment with our committee members. So we have settled into a once-a-month meeting schedule, usually on the second Tuesday of the month, but they will be posted and the same as any other town committee or commission is posted at Town Hall. So if there's any changes to that or cancellation, that should be available, at least if you call the general number at Town Hall on that day, if you think you want to join in. Joe, you want to expound on anything else on our meetings?
yeah, meetings are always open to the public. We have several empty chairs that we're just begging for people to come to sit in the audience or sit at the table and join in. It's definitely an organic group. As Lee said, there's 10 active members, but it rotates every meeting. People come. We'll get into a little bit some of the activity, but among many other things at the meeting, we do have a members minute, which basically says, where have you been in the last month? What kind of trails have you seen? How can we relate those and improve some of Norwood's resources based on that research that people are doing elsewhere.
So what are Norwood Trails Advisory Committee? We're obviously focused on the trails in town. What you see here is a representation of the town and basically all the open spaces and green spaces that we're considering for the trails. So we're going to go very quickly in this presentation over some background information. I know many people who are attending have seen a lot of this before, but there'll be some people that it's new to them, and we'd like to get that information out. The overarching town trail map is represented here, and we are currently looking for any areas in town that we can utilize in a network of trails. So with that, initially it was pretty easy to identify some of the existing trails and map those out. Going forward, we have been looking at other areas such as the St. Street slot and up in University Ave for improved access by the public. Okay, why don't you take this, Joe?
Because there's too many words on it. You just want to hit the map and hit the road. So basically, just a real quick summary of what we do in addition to what Lee just said. We try to foster interactions and collaboration. I see one of the visitors tonight is Andre Ripley from Neponset River Watershed Association. Thank you for coming, Andre. Basically, we've tried to partner with as many people as we can, whether it's individuals or groups. Just to rattle off a few, as you can see, we're working very closely with the Community Preservation Committee, Norwood's Conservation Commission. Departments like the DPW have been a huge assist to us and a huge partner in this effort. We're in the process of writing yet another grant this spring. Holly, Paul, and myself are writing a grant to the Mass Trails arm of the state's DCR. We're trying to get some additional grant funding for some of the projects that we're working on. As we discussed at the opening, Progress Norwood and the Sustainability Committee together, yes. Each year that we've been in existence, we've had a joint fall costume walk with Progress Norwood. We've had upwards of 40, depending on the weather, 40 to 50 people come out, mostly in costume, which is great. We hold it right around Halloween, and it's truly one of the best and most family-oriented programs that we run over the course of the year. As Lee said, one of the things that we're especially focused on is the experience of the, we could call ourselves hikers, but in Norwood, that's really kind of an oversell. We're really just out for a walk in the woods. But we do want to kind of maximize the experience and give people that feeling that they may not be in the White Mountains or on the Appalachian Trail like Lee has been. But we still want to make it a good experience for young and old, families, individuals. It's a great experience. One of my favorite experiences anywhere, but especially in Norwood, is just to go out at the top of Endine Hill and on a windy day, especially, and just hear the wind cutting through the pine trees up there. So it's a really, it's a way to kind of escape the craziness that, especially in the last 2 years, that we've experienced. The other thing, as far as improving access and on each one of the trails, we'll get to some of the work that's been done. Especially one of our great partners has been the Boy Scouts of America, but specifically we've got five projects that are either completed or underway, and most of those relate to kiosk work. Craig Austin, Sue Bartlett, and Fran Rush have created all the maps that we'll be talking about shortly. All of the maps, including the town-wide map, are available on our website. If you just Google, we're on the town the town website as a committee, the Trails Committee. But if you just Google Norwood Trails Advisory, yep, it'll come up with our maps page. And signage is something that we're working on. That's yet to come. Brian Palmetier, especially on our committee, is working on some guidance as far as signage goes on the trail. So, yeah.
So let's talk about Bernie Cooper Park. Bernie Cooper Park, otherwise formerly the St. Streets lot, was purchased by the town a few years back, and the Trails Committee has been very active with promoting its as an open space with a new trail system involved in it, and many people in town are aware of it in general, but we trying to bring you up to speed on where we are at with the development of this project and how it goes along. What we see here is the results of a study that was done over the course of the last year or so from the prospect of basically inputs from the community on what they wanted to see a park like this, 6.5 acres or so, look like in the neighborhood that it is. What you'll see here, it's kind of a busy slide though, is important that I think it's characterized as a riverfront park. This concept was the most favorable of the several that were presented as voted or opined by the residents, and the feedback that we got from a lot of the people from town. The riverfront is the Neponset River, and that is represented by the river that goes along the bottom of this park. It bounds one edge of it. At the top edge is the neighborhood, which intersects with 3 streets there that are, so you have to remind me of the streets. What are the names of those streets?
The reason it's originally called the St. Street lot was because it's at the end of St. Paul Ave, St. Joseph Ave, and St. John Ave.
Right. So, and then the other feature is the Haas Brook, which is on the left side, that also intersects, comes down out of Ellis Pond and through Norwood, and then is a tributary into the Neponset River. The confluence of the Haas Brook with the Neponset River is a feature point of this concept, as well as some of the paths that will be developed in the park. So without getting into the minutia and the detail of this design, we wanted to show you that it's fairly well on its way, and that there's been a lot of work put into what could happen in this park. Okay. Want to add anything else, Joe, to it?
Yeah, just from a timing standpoint, the property was purchased about 2.5 years ago from a private owner. The good news is it was purchased by the town. The alternate plan by the previous owner was that they were going to put approximately 350 automobiles on the property as automobile storage. So it's truly a, you know, in the hockey world, they call it a great save, and this is truly a great save. The other thing, as Lee said, is there are a couple of points in the design that you're looking at in the bottom left-hand corner, and again further down the Neponset, downstream on the Neponset. Whoops, get those happy hands there. The intent is it's called a riverfront park, but the intent is to put a couple of observation decks and walking paths along the water in an observation deck. So you can, you know, it's not a huge waterway, but certainly anyone who wants to just to come down and watch the flow and maybe fish and do whatever, you know. The other good point about this is it borders on the Elliott Field and the Balsh Elementary School.
That's over on this side.
Yeah, which is just north on the same, it's truly just abutting. So the intent is to allow access on a couple of these trails to the Balsh property and the Elliott Park, and turn this into, during the day, weekdays, turn it into an outdoor learning space.
And that's what this area down on this end of the park would serve as.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
From a timetable standpoint, this is currently under review. The design work has already been complete, and that's what you're looking at. That the purchase of the property and the design was already paid out of Community Preservation Act funds. And the next phase would be construction. So the construction plan is currently under review by the CPA committee, and it will be presented, assuming the CPA committee approves it to proceed. This will be presented at the May town meeting for town meeting's approval. So I think that's good.
So, yeah, so the community should look forward to some of that coming out real soon with the next regular town meeting, right?
Right.
Okay. So moving on, trail maps. Well, we currently offer 5 trail maps in addition to the overall townwide map that we've seen. These are the listing of those trail maps. They're available online, like we said, but you can also come down to the library and pick up a hard copy of them on really, really good. I'm just going to try to do this. I don't know if this is focusing right or what, but anyway, there we go. Can we see that? I can't see that. It's not focusing so well. But anyway, these are on really good paper. That it's like waterproof rated paper, so you can durable paper you can take with you in your day pack or backpack or whatever if you're out on the on any of these, one or all of these 5 areas that are available. These maps are also available up at Town Hall as long as they last. So, but we encourage most people to download them in PDF form onto their smart devices and use them that way as well, save the papers. Going forward, we are looking, of course, at developing in connection with the construction and producing a map on the Cooper Park. And that would be the next map to come out. And then the number of other areas are also in consideration, quite possibly an area over behind the Alice Nursing Home, which we refer to as the Alice Field, and near Codman Street, right off Codman Street. That is an area that we are looking at promoting as a walking area. The neighborhood residents over there use that quite a bit already, so I think that would make sense. Okay, this is the Endine Park, which is our showcase area for trails. Includes the Haas Pool area over here, right off Washington Street, but then goes into some wooded areas in the green and some open field areas down here by the orchard and the gardens, the community gardens. Okay. There's also a small trail system. Sorry about that. That goes around Ellis Pond, the trail here near the dam, and then this short little trail off Nichols Street, which has a beautiful, beautiful point of water destination point that is basically 270 degrees on the open water. One other thing to point out on this map is on this side of the dam, on the south side of the dam here, is a canoe and kayak launching point. So people can access the Ellis Pond with their canoes or kayaks if they wish. This, oh, I don't know why I keep doing that, Joe, but I do anyway. Germany Brook, thank you. Germany Brook was a trail that we walked on New Year's Day. We met people down at the Willett School and walked up the path crossing Winter Street and into the woods here and around this area of the system, and then out to the end of the senior center. The next map is the Hennessy Field area. Hennessy Field's down on the bottom, cross street at the top. The last map is the extensive small system of trails at Shattuck Park. So those are all laid out for you. So they're very easy to use, and I hope everybody takes advantage of them.
Okay, great. Just to give one point about the Germany Brook walk from a scale standpoint, on New Year's Day, we had probably 35 to 40 people join us. And that walk from Father Matt's all the way over to the Willett round trip was roughly 2.7 miles. So that gives you an indication, you know, it's a great place to go lunch hour, you know, after school or after work, especially in the summertime. There's a great view from the top of what we call Mount Norwood, but the landfill. We'd much rather call it Mount Norwood. Some of the things that we've been involved in, we won't go into everything on the list, but we do try, every month we try to have our meeting, which is either in person or virtual, but that's truly a committee meeting, although it's open to anyone. That's where we do most of our planning and reviewing of recent walks, etc. But we always try, and at least once a month, in addition to those meetings, we always try to fill in either an event or an activity or a community walk. Some of the things that we've covered as part of our advocacy and essentially awareness, bringing awareness to the community, and frankly, as a service to the community, many of the things we've looked at, we've accomplished over the course of the past year. One of our committee members, Craig Austin, is also a water sampler associated with the Neponset River Watershed Association. So Craig, in that capacity, at one of our meetings, spent about 20 to 30 minutes reviewing the annual NEPRA water quality review, which is an Eastern Massachusetts review, a Greater Boston review. But specifically, Craig was able to translate the review into what it means to Norwood. Second, that going into the month of April, we held a joint effort cleanup at the Saint Street lot with the Neponset River Watershed Association. NEPRA did all the heavy lifting and the advertising, and there were people coming from all over Eastern Mass, as far away as Marlborough and Hudson, to try to help us out in that effort. So we appreciate the focus and the ability to highlight an up-and-coming trail on Saint Street. We also joined effort with the Progress Norwood group, and we were involved in Earth Day and the Earth Day cleanup. We advocated in May of 2021, town meeting through the Community Preservation Committee. There was an article on that town meeting warrant to allow for the design of, similar to what has already been accomplished at the Cooper Park, to come up with a walking path design at University Ave, which is another conservation property. So that Norwood Trails Committee advocated at both in person at the meeting and also leading into that meeting. June, July, you know, we were busy all summer long, basically right into the fall. We also participated in all of the Cooper Park planning sessions. We did our annual sustainability series presentation last year. There is an invasive that's in several places across town. It's called Mile a Minute, and we had a mile a minute. It's basically doesn't quite grow at the rate of mile a minute, but it's very swift. So that somebody, not us, took the liberty of calling it Mile a Minute. But more about that and other invasives to come. Let's see, we had a cleanup at Father Max, and in September we had a great turnout. We had another table at Norwood Day, and we had a great turnout, great feedback, and we do appreciate the ability to interface with people. Lots of suggestions, and there was a lot of attention on the townwide map, which is great. As you can see, we won't go over all these, but we had, over the course of the year, we had 7 or 8 community walks. They're always open to the public. And we will continue that. We've already started this year with the first day hike on New Year's Day, but we'll continue to do that throughout the rest of the year. As I mentioned before, we've had a great partnership with the local Boy Scout troops, Troop 42, Troop 44, and Troop 49 in Walpole. We've got 5 projects that are either completed. Actually, we've got 5 completed projects, and we've got 1 that's in the early stages of planning. We appreciate the scouts coming forward. These are all Eagle Scout projects, which means that each one of these scouts he proposed the idea. We spent a number of hours in meetings between the associated parties, the Conservation Commission, the Trails Commission, field trips with Mark Ryan and the DPW, for instance. And as you can see, there's 2 photos at the bottom. We've got current kiosks installed at Father Max Pool area, and again over on Winter Street on the Germany Brook Trail. On the bottom right, we've got 2 new kiosks. One is at the Orchard and Community Garden at the Endine, and the second one is up on Ryan Drive. That's a great resource as well. Top right, Noah Kern installed. He led the league. He was the first one to come forward on an Eagle project, but he outlined a course map for the cross-country course at the Endine property. So as opposed to no taking a left at Stop and Shop, he did provide some field mapping and field guidance specifically for the cross-country effort. Adam Gorin on the left-hand corner did a great job at the very beginning. Peswick Park is a conservation property over on Sumner Street, and it leads from Sumner to the Norwood Gardens complex. Adam did a great job. He cleared an area that will soon become a gathering point. The Conservation Commission is going to spring for a picnic table and to allow some gathering in that area, which happens to be right along Trap Hole Brook, right? And in the middle, William Doyle came forward. He had a great project. He proposed, presented, and created with his troop and family an observation overlook deck that overlooks the Father Max wetlands behind the Savage Center. So each one of those projects, has been, completed. Each one of those 5 scouts earned their Eagle because of this, and we do appreciate it. Excuse me. And as I said, we've got 1 more project that's just started getting off the ground. We listed all of our community walks over the course of the year. One of my hobbies, in addition to spending good quality time with Lee, is photography outdoors. So I tried not to bury the presentation with photos, but these are just some of the turnout in some of the community walks. Contrary to what it looks like, we don't always walk in the wintertime, although it's a 12-month, 365-day event. Just so happens that those were the photos that popped up to the top. Excuse me. In addition to the Cooper Park, I guess, based on where it is today, development-wise, the Cooper Park is actually the future. It's the next closest event, if you will, that the Trails Advisory Committee is going to focus on, or has already focused on. A little further out in the timeline is the conservation property on University Ave. It's a little difficult to picture where this is, But if this map in the middle, this is actually a trail that we've been over many times.
Well, I wouldn't call it a trail. It's really just the route that we walked through the woods. It was an open forested area. There's no trail up there.
Yep.
Right. So
There's no trail at the, this is University Ave that goes right to left, right at the trail, what we'll call a trailhead. The skating club of Boston is just to the,
right where the arrow was.
yeah, right here. There's a couple of all along on the northern side of University Ave is all like the formerly known as the Home Depot storage area. People who travel University Ave quite a bit will recognize the hot dog truck is essentially the trailhead. It's just across the brook. At the bottom of the photo, you can see the Norwood Airport. So we're hoping that the design work, as I mentioned before, has already been approved by town meeting. So we're hoping in the next year, probably 12 to 18 months, we'll be able to get to the same point that we are currently at with the Cooper Park.
Okay. Going on. What does the Trail Committee have their relationship with the sustainability efforts? And so, didn't mean to do that so quickly. This lists our bullet points for the relationship with sustainability. Obviously, we've talked a lot about these in our presentation up till now. Obviously, we want to make sure that we practice leave no trace as we're out on the trails. We most of the time we go on walks, one or more of our members will be carrying a garbage bag or some way of picking up litter as we go around these areas. We also sponsor cleanup events too that are really community driven in a lot of ways, and really doesn't take a lot of extra time if we do that on a regular basis. So areas that are known to attract or collect, wind-blown garbage bags or plastic bags will be out there once or twice a year to pick those up. The other areas you see here, events, public hearings, working in the neighborhoods of all these areas to make sure that these areas are valued by the people that live there so that they know that they can use them in a free and open manner. That's important to us as well. Do you have any other show?
No, hit them all.
Okay, good. These are this bottom left photo with the foliage there. That's an example of the mile a minute vine that Joe talked about, and some of our other cleanup events.
One point about in the bottom right corner, actually all these photos, but especially the bottom right corner, we get with all of these trail cleanups, we do publish. We do not have, at this point, we don't have our own Facebook page, but we do publish as far in advance as possible some of our upcoming events. We got a great turnout. This bottom right photo is from the Earth Day cleanup behind the Savage Center at Father Max. This family was all proud. The kids did a great job, and they were quite happy that they were able to haul. Actually, I think the father hauled most of it and the mother, but they were able to pull out a lot of trash and large pieces like some of the outdoor furniture you see in front of them. But we got great participation, and we, whether it's Norwood Day or any of these cleanups or the community walks, we want to try to make this an enjoyable outing for individuals and family members. And I think we've had a great turnout so far.
And I would also like to express our great thanks to the DPW for coming in afterwards and picking up the trash bags that we basically leave at the trailhead. So the DPW is always able to help us haul away the trash bags that we do collect. Okay.
And speaking of that, so concept of the future paths. We're working, as Lee said, we work closely with the Conservation Commission. The DPW they've been phenomenal as far as coming out to assist or even clear trees. We've got a great process. We've got community members that email us or text us or call us or whatever and just say, hey, there's a tree down on Ellis. the DPW is, you know, right there. We'll forward the information, and they're jump right on it. They've been great. Community involvement, Norwood Day is a great example.
I would also like to say, it says right there, the first thing, Conservation Commission and the conservation agent has been working with us really hand in hand and supporting some of our needs as well. So express a great gratitude to that group too.
Yep. Yeah, and they even have for most of their meetings, one of their agenda points is the trails update. So Steve Washburn is the chair,
Yep.
but especially Holly Jones is you know, she's the feet on the street as far as the Conservation Commission is concerned. So Holly, thank you for all your help. Norwood Day future projects. We've talked about all these. The Saints Park. Actually, we need to update it. The Board of Selectmen and the Conservation Commission got together and they approved the renaming of the Saints Park to become Cooper Park. We didn't mention that in honor of and memorial of Bernie Cooper. University Ave is on, as I said, a longer term timetable. Open space plan was just approved in 2020, but we want to make sure that that document, it will do everything possible to make sure that document is a living document, and that if it called for improvements, then we're reminding everybody that, hey, you know, page 17 says that this area is an area that we need to focus on. So let's do that. We've already started working with the Norwood 150th committee. As everybody knows, 2022 is Norwood's 150th anniversary, and we've been working with Patty Fanning and John Grove and others to not only present information about a historical trail, but also to create a physical trail for people to use. One other thing that came to mind recently with all of the small town parklets, you know, that could be another trail for us to create, is a parklet that would help people get from, you know, let's say from South Norwood to downtown. There's at least 5 or 6 new small parks that have been created. So grants, as I said, we're in the midst of a grant project right now. And CPA, we've had a lot of success. We do appreciate the commitment and the support from the Community Preservation Committee and all its members. Excuse me. One of the facets and highlights of the CPA Act was to help develop open space, and certainly trails and open space access are things that we treat near and dear. But basically, one of our biggest points as far as the future path is concerned is you. We couldn't be doing this. We wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for all the feedback and, you know, the input and basically the leadership that all of you have shown. Excuse me. So we certainly appreciate your efforts and your assistance and your guidance. We hope that continues in any form that you want it. Finally, we've hit all these items. Second Tuesday of every month, we meet typically 7 o'clock. These days, we've been meeting at the Senior Center. Excuse me. If you have any questions, Lee Leach. I work for Lee.
Joe Greeley.
Thank you.
I work for Joe.
Our email address is trails@norwoodma.gov. We check it several times a day. We will try to spruce that up. We have attempted to venture in into the world of Facebook. I'm not quite sure we want to do that fully, but that's certainly another avenue for us to embark on. As Lee said, great support from Town Hall and the library, especially, and the Senior Center is also a place where the brochures are available. Finally, we just wanted to end with a photo. This happens to be Haws Brook. As you can tell, it's in the fall, but you know, people, the reason I started, you know, I joined the committee is because a lot of us would tend to leave town every weekend, essentially saying, okay, I want to go take a hike. Norwood absolutely has no trails in town, so I need to leave town. But despite that, contrary to that, we've got that townwide map that we showed. We've got 22, so far we've got 22 parcels that are either already mapped and those maps are available, or they're on the map trail to be, you know, the future trail list. So we do try to look beyond just the current set of maps that we have and try to determine what's next. So
That's the end of the
there you go.
slides.
So thank you all for your for joining us. I am going to temporarily, I'll stop sharing and we'll go back to seeing all your happy smiling faces out there. I guess now would be a great time if any other comments, questions or
Questions, we can open it up, Hillary?
Yeah, so there were a few questions that came in during the presentation. When you were showing the Norwood Riverfront Park final concept, we had a question, what is the length of the trail that's being proposed there?
Yep. So again, it's not, maybe I'll go back to sharing, but
So there are a number of different types of trails in that concept. There's sort of a couple main trails that sort of cross up and down and across it, and then some smaller or narrower trails that are side trails. I don't know if we have a total distance laid out on the trails there. There's if you just so these are the main trails there and here, and then there's a one along the waterways, and then you notice these trails in the interior aspect, which are much more smaller and more personal trails for ambling, basically. So you can get the general idea of the lengths because this width is 3 town blocks and approximately 1 block and depth.
Yep.
So that's the kind of scale we're talking about trails.
I happen to the day when do we have our massive snowstorm the last week? We had 14 or 15 inches of snow, and that day I went out on my snowshoes onto the Cooper Park, and as I said before, the Cooper Park abuts the Elliott Field. So by joining both of those properties, the Elliott Field and
Which
Cooper,
is over here.
yep,
Yeah.
it's just north. It's basically downstream along the Neponset. But I ended up with about a 1.3 mile walk. So, and that's a round trip. So that's starting at one of the Saint Streets and working my way out to Pond Street, if people are familiar with that area. Pond is on the other side of the Balch parking lot. Unfortunately, we didn't bring that larger view map with us, but it's about a 1.3 round trip. And when, as you can imagine, anybody that's familiar with this, St. Paul Ave basically pops out at the Brookside, and directly across the Brookside Cafe is Hawes Pool. So if you couple this 1.3 mile walk with the ending Hawes, you could put together a 4.5 to 5 mile walk, which is great. And that's one of our goals. We didn't mention that, but one of our goals is to try to connect the dots with some of our parks. Again, just to try to improve the experience. So great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, there was another question that came in, which was, where can people find information about upcoming trail cleanup events and other trails related events?
Yep. So we, as I mentioned, if it's a trail cleanup that the town, like that we're hosting, we advertise. I think one of the slides we had a picture of our trail cleanup sign, but we advertise those both physically and as well as on Facebook. Both the Conservation Commission picks those up, as does a lot of times Progress Norwood does too. So we appreciate that. Progress Norwood hosts, excuse me, the Earth Day in the spring. So that's almost certainly an opportunity for a cleanup as well.
Yeah, I would anticipate that in April, that would be our next cleanup activity. So be cognizant of watching for local notices out there. But Joe, I think we could also offer the public, if they wanted to send in their information to the trails at norwood.ma.gov with their email information, we could send out an email blast to people who want to be on our email list. We do have a list of people that several hundred long now that we can do that as well.
Yep. Just if I can put in one comment, Hillary, excuse me for 1 second. I see that Patty Bailey has joined us, and I do want to, while we've got the Cooper Park map up here, I do want to acknowledge Patty and her family, her husband and her family they've been long, and many other people in the community, but specifically Patty and her family have been long-standing stewards of this property before it became public. While it was still a private property, Patty and her husband would go out and, keep an eye on it, walk it on almost a daily basis. And so they're definitely, we appreciate their role as trailblazers in this specific effort. So not to embarrass her, but thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Patty.
Good. Thank you. Hillary?
Yeah, the last thing that came in through the chat was just a reminder from Katie Neal Rizzo, one of our representatives of Progress Norwood and Together Yes. The Norwood Earth Day cleanup, which includes a community picnic and a fair, is actually scheduled now. So it's going to take place on Sunday, April 24th at 10 a.m. So if anyone is interested in joining for that, that is the date, April 24th. But that was everything that came in through the chat. So if anybody else has any questions that they'd just like to ask freeform, please feel free to unmute yourself and go for it.
Okay. Just to get back to the Neponset River watershed, Andre and his team have been great partners. Letters of advocacy, and I mentioned before they held a trail cleanup early in 2021. They've been a great resource, not only for the Trails Committee, but also for the town in general, and a great partner. One thing that Andre and his team had proposed last year, and this will definitely be on the agenda at some point this year in the form of a trail cleanup, but specifically to try to identify, put a program together where we're actually out in one of these properties and to try to identify some of the invasive plants, and in an effort to try to foster some I'll say homegrown, I don't know if I can say that, homegrown invasive elimination, but that is certainly an effort that we want to undertake as well. If we don't have any other questions or comments, we're going to meet, our next meeting is the second Tuesday of February. So feel free to join us or send us an email. We'll send you the specifics. It's usually 7 p.m. We will make note of the next community walk. If anyone has any ideas, suggestions, any did you knows, that's basically how we ended up with our list of 23 properties across town. Is people knew their own neighborhood, but they didn't know any walking areas or open space areas in the other side of town, let's say. So it was only by having kind of a listening tour that we got together and we put together that inventory of all the areas in town. We listen, we learn, we're here, we're basically here for you. So that's the way we look at it. We do appreciate all the effort and all the collaboration and all the interest that we've received so far. So no other questions. I'll turn it back to Hillary, and good final words.
I really want to thank the library again for allowing us to utilize their space and their time and their Zoom broadcasting for this presentation. And we look forward to doing this again in the future.
Good. On behalf of Lee and myself, I want to thank everyone for coming. Hillary, thank you, and thanks to the library, and thank you all for coming out. Appreciate it. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Thank you to Joe and Lee, and thank you to everybody for coming out. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, and then everybody have a great night.
Happy trails out there. Thank you.